All right there, and how you doing? Hope you're all well. I have very little inclination to record these videos at this point in my life, but I think that we'll have a duty if we've started friendships and relationships of any kind, albeit online or in the physical world, that checking in on people and checking everything's all right and letting people know you're okay is an important thing to do. I've worked out over the years that those little subconscious things that sometimes we let slip, or people let slip about us, can really get under our skin, but it's on such a subconscious level that you would never nail that it's one of the tiny little ingredients that are upsetting you. And if somebody's formed a relationship with you with them, and you lose touch somehow, and you know that it's through a little bit of laziness, negligence, or can't be botheredness, that it's going to sow its seeds of doubt about other relationships. I've worked out that the minutiae and the subconscious things that we take on board are so much more important than the giant battles that bludgeon us over the head with the sort of merciless accuracy. It's the small things, and it's looking after each other that really matter. There's every reluctance in my soul to mention the events of late summer 2019, but for relevance sake, I just have to. Since the suicide of my beloved Charlotte, soul searching is an understatement for where I've been. Shock and surprise is an understatement with how many bridges and how many friendships have been built in light of her tragic passing. I've seen myself in situations where I'm laughing and joking. I'm fine, and I genuinely am so in that moment, where everything shrinks back to being just me, and it's just me, sitting on my floor in my bedroom, crying my eyes out, and just feeling like I'm completely 100% lost. For the first time in my life, I felt for other people on an unconditional level. Every movement and every emotion expressed by certain people around me at the moment, I take so viciously seriously. Maybe it's a part of grieving, but there is a precision in my insistence to be a little bit emotionally sensitive at the moment that it's so accurate. I'm sure others can relate to this. It's just all new to me. Within days of having been to Charlotte's funeral, there were people looking at her room in this house to rent it. That was beyond difficult. Whether you like it or not, the world keeps turning. This place has got to be pulling in a rent, and I've had people looking around this house, and as you can imagine, I've on regular occasions wandered into her empty room and just sat there. Thought about her, talked to her, done all sorts of things. Then you overhear somebody who's being showed around the room brashly saying, "I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll paint this, I'll paint that," and you can do nothing but just feel like sacrilege is being committed, a violation of something so sacred. But it's the way of the world. That person cannot be held responsible for wanting to do what we all do, but bereavement puts you in a very strange position where the distance between that last time you were with that person or talked to that person or the moment of their death and us coming forward, that they just become further and further out of focus and into the past. And I find that so hard to deal with that now 2 months have passed, September and October, we're in October now, and I haven't seen her in either of those 2 months, and that distance is just, it's so difficult. She will reside in an eternal summer. It was a wonderful time that we all shared. Probably 5 of us this summer, really. There were a few other people from time to time, but generally speaking, there were 5 of us this summer who just shared all those magic moments. You know, my life had been so awful towards the beginning of this year, and ironically, since Charlotte's passing, I found life in light of her not being here. It's so final. I found it easier to deal with than the breakup of my relationship at the beginning of the year. Now I'm infinitely more distressed and saddened on a constant level by this terrible event in August. But it's final. There's no coming back from this. It is what it is. And when a relationship deteriorates and that person's still existing in the world and everything like that, it's so hard to deal with if it's not necessarily what you wanted. I don't know how I feel about that situation right now. I just don't think about it. Maybe, who'd have believed it? Things come along to distract you, and some wonderful things came along to distract me after moving here. But I never would have believed the ultimate distraction would be the death of somebody I love very much. I know that I haven't been very good at keeping up with comments and what have you, but I just haven't got the time and the inclination at the moment. But I know somebody asked me very clearly, somebody who's commented on my output for quite a long time, asked me how my daughter has dealt with this. Well, me and my ex-partner, the moment that the news of Charlotte's passing had reached her, we discussed it immediately. What are we going to do about our daughter? And my ex-partner said, look, I'm going to deal with it this way. I'm going to do it slowly. I'm going to say that Charlotte's fallen ill and work it forward, that way, and break it to her slowly but surely. Didn't, neither of us knew what we were doing, but I still think on reflection it was probably a good way to do it. She knew there were problems anyway, instinctively. She spent every weekend from the beginning of April to the end of August with Charlotte, every spare moment. They quite often went off on their own on little adventures without me, such as the trust and love that was there. But my ex-partner said, I've got something to tell you, to our daughter. Charlotte's very, very poorly. And she looked at her mother square in the eyes and said, she's died, hasn't she, Mum? She knew. She just knew on an instinctive level that Charlotte had gone. And she amazes me with her perception and her senses beyond the 5 that we're taught that are all we have. But she's got the same sort of perceptions and insights that me and her mother have got, and they make life difficult. And as much as I'm so proud of her for being so astute and so spiritually sensitive, my little girl, I fear for her somewhat with knowing where this kind of levels of perception and sensitivity can take you. It's not an easy life for those people who think and feel. Everybody thinks and feels, but you know what I'm talking about. You really do know what I'm talking about. It's not an arrogant statement. It just is a state of being that I'm not going to pussyfoot around. But it's funny, in moments, like about 10 minutes ago when I decided to do this video, I was just sat in my room and I was crying for the first time in a while, admittedly. And I saw myself, I saw a sort of image of myself and sort of panned upwards, and I just thought, I'm such a tiny speck in this universe. And there are so many broken damaged and sad people in exactly the same position dotted around this planet. What have we done? What have we done so wrong to make us all so sad and broken? What has gone wrong? What has gone wrong with the human spirit that en masse, the biggest pandemic on Earth that isn't virally related, as far as we know? Depression, anxiety, suicide. Why is it so bad? Why? I mean, it utterly, obsessively interests me at the moment. And I think you can probably understand why. But I went back to work 2 weeks ago. Just for one day, and then last week I went back properly. And I luckily was working with two guys who were very understanding and sensitive, and had a nice time. It was good to get out, and it was good to do something. But I often wonder if that's just a version of me that's just got a sort of inhibitor. You know, because the moment I'm on my own again, which situation dictates that's how life is again now. I'm very sad, and I've got time to think, and you know, it all happened here. She died in this house. But I do wonder if we are that split in our emotional. Maybe it's a man thing. I know a lot of women find it very difficult to hide their emotions and will burst into tears. You know, at the drop of a hat, and I'm kind of good at waiting for the right moment. And it's like holding in a fart until you're out of polite company and just letting it go. You know, I have the same ability with my emotions to just hide them. But I freely admit to total strangers, not people I work with or am in contact with on a day-to-day level, I'm completely broken. I'm completely broken-hearted, and I'm doing okay, but this is just the most terrible thing that's ever happened in my lifetime, this situation that started on the 29th of August. I'm broken-hearted, not just for myself. I've learned so much about myself. I've become such an unrecognisably different person because of all this. I feel the pain of so many people involved in this. And do you know, out of all the multitude and countless number of people that I've got to know and want to make something good out of this situation, there's only one person who's shown themselves to be rather manipulative and unscrupulous. And I'm not saying that is a complete representation of what and who they are. But I know some damn good people. I'm looking forward to things calming down a bit to the point where our new normal becomes just that, our new normal. But yeah, there are so many what ifs that are irrelevant because, you know, this probably would have played out the way it did no matter what happened, but it's tough, it really is. And this isn't an exaggeration. I've said things like this in the past and completely misrepresented a phrase that should mean something. I've learned so much about myself, I really have. But I miss Charlotte every single second of every single day, but she visits me in my dreams.